as you know, I've been going through Blumhouse films lately. And if you follow my channel, you know I'm not that much of a fan. They have their gems, a couple great films even. But by and large, I am not a Blumhouse fan. And this is one I hadn't seen yet. Didn't see it when it came out, not until just now. I think I finally found the film where if I was asked to sum up Blumhouse in one word, it would be Ouija. This, in my opinion, is the absolute epitome of what I think of when I think of Blumhouse. That's not found footage, because they have their share of found footage. That would be Paranormal Activity, or The Gallows, mostly Paranormal Activity. As far as a traditional film, Ouija. This was a chore to sit through, and it's red because the battery's low, so great. The film from 2014, and it really was a chore to sit through. There were so many times I thought it was gonna end, and it just kept fucking going. Directed by Styles White, who mostly special effects artist. Interview with the Vampire, Congo, Lost World, Ghost in the Darkness, Small Soldiers, which I like. Other kids' movies like Mouse Hunt, Polly, Lake Placid, Sixth Sense, Jurassic Park 3, The Relic, which I think is a little overrated. Boogeyman from 2005, which I hated. Screenwriter for that. This was his only film directing. He also wrote The Possession from 2012, which I also hated. You know, with the two fingers coming out of the girl's throat. This isn't far off from that, but... And not only was this put out through Blumhouse and produced by Jason Blum, it was produced by the trifecta of another company that I don't like horror films from, Platinum Dunes. Because you have Michael Bay, Brad Fuller, and Andrew Form. Granted, I like the Chainsaw Massacre remake. I like they also have that was in them. I meant to say Friday the 13th remake or reboot. I did not like Amityville Horror. I did not like Nightmare on Elm Street. So yeah, what happens when you mix Platinum Dunes and Blumhouse? You get this. And just to pull you in, for the producer of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the producer of Insidious. Yeah, that's how you do it. It was also helped produced or funded by Hasbro Studios. Yeah. Which, okay, what the fuck else have they put out? My Little Pony, Adventures of Chuck and Friends, G.I. Joe, Transformers Prime. Not really anything. And it says, based on Ouija by Hasbro, as if it... At 89 minutes, this was a chore and a half to sit through. I mean, it was made for 5 to 8 million. It made 103.6 million. So again, sizable hit. Just like Paranormal Activity, these Blumhouse films manage to make money. Their theatrical films do. Really isn't much to the production to talk about. It did get a prequel, Ouija, Origin of Evil, which was directed by Mike Flanagan. Based on that alone, I'll check it out because I like Mike Flanagan. It stars Olivia Cook, who looks familiar, but I can't say I've really don't really know of anything. Okay, this really is the bottom of the barrel, lowest common denominator, PG-13 Blumhouse film. This is in the same category, the same grouping as Bye Bye Man. In fact, the lead actor from Bye Bye Man is in this. He's one of our main kids. Because it's a group of kids in high school. Yeah, these two girls, Sarah and Debbie. When they were kids, when they were young girls, they found a Ouija board. And they played it. Or Debbie and Lane. I meant Sarah is the younger sister of Lane. And they talk about the rules, like you can never play alone. And so they play the Ouija board, jump to present day. Debbie says that she burns the Ouija board, but then it reappears because that's what happens. It's a supernatural horror film. And she hangs herself. She doesn't hang herself, but it looks like she does. That's what her families are told. And of course, Lane and Debbie are lifelong best friends. Families are very close. Debbie's family goes on vacation because I guess that's what you do when your kid commits suicide. And they leave Lane to watch the house. She finds the Ouija board and decides to get a group of her friends together to play it because the last conversation they had together was Debbie says something weird happened with the Ouija board, and I could have swore she said I played it alone. Because later on, it's like a revelation to Lane, played by Olivia Cook, that she played alone. And that's the thing. Just like Bye Bye Man and other PG-13 horror movies, it's just the writing did not matter. It's like, okay, there's no chemistry with these characters, really. I mean, at best, you can say the Lane and Sarah girl, because they're sisters. And Sarah's like the younger goth sister that's kind of rebellious, but they grow closer. No chemistry. The writing is just like, it changes the rules on itself throughout the film. No fake out dream sequences. I'll give it that. At least, I mean, this movie was so hard to stick with. It might have had one, but plenty of jump scares. It's built solely on the jump scares, and there's nothing imaginative or inventive with the cinematography. It looks like the bare minimum of cinematography. I mean, it looks like a theatrical film, yes, but I mean, with like cuts and cameras, like showing people, like the most inventive camera work is when our 5 characters sit down. You have Lane, her sister Sarah, Debbie's boyfriend, and this other couple. They're sitting there and they say, give us this. It's not the first time, it's the second time. Give us a sign that you're here. And the chair across the table pulls out. And they realize that they're not talking to Debbie, they're talking to someone else. And when they ask, are you in this room? Where are you? And they all look towards the chair, and the camera sort of does like this, like panning back. So it like pans back to where the chair is, and we see everyone lined at the table. That's about it. That, or when Debbie is communicating through the Ouija board, the planchette, it's all these like quick cuts, which it's like, okay, if you're gonna make a movie about a Ouija board, that's the most Ouija thing in it. And it's funny that they call it a spirit board because the film is called Ouija. The very font on the cover and when the title appears is the same, and they keep calling it a spirit board. And so yeah, they do the Ouija board first. It says hi friend. They get creeped out, they stop. And then they all see hi friend, you know, when they're by themselves in their day-to-day lives, they see the words hi friend. So they get together, they do it again, and that's when they realize they're not talking to Debbie. They're talking to this spirit that goes by DZ. And when you look through the planchette glass, you can see Debbie with her mouth sewn shut, and then this woman, this pale woman with a long mouth and black eyeballs, screaming, coming towards the camera. It's one of those supernatural horror films. And then it's just, and then one by one, the characters are dying. No, that doesn't make it a slasher film. Well, I think it does. Well, it's not. There's one girl, she's flossing, and then next thing we know, her mouth's sewn shut. And then she's levitated and dropped, and her head hits the sink. And she, then she puts in this thumb drive, because she's house sitting. One of Debbie's thumb drives, puts in her laptop. And there's a video of her playing the Ouija board by herself. And it's just like, wasn't that part of your last conversation? I could be wrong, nor do I care. And then somehow she ends up, like, she finds these old pictures, and her and the guy from Bye Bye Man do some research. There's a girl that went missing years ago. They look into it. Find out her sister is at a psychiatric hospital played by Lynn Shay, which is probably the best thing about this movie. She's playing a very Lynn Shay horror movie type role where she's kind of crazy. She's in a psychiatric hospital, and she's there to explain what's going on. And even then, it's just, okay, my mother was into Ouija boards and, you know, evil shit. My sister looked up to her and wanted to help her. My mother used her as a vessel. And then my sister started, you know, the voices were coming through her, so she sewed her mouth shut. And she never went missing. She never left the house. She was kept there. And you gotta cut the connection. You gotta, because this is another thing. It's like, they go down to the basement and they find that girl's body, decomposed body, still has the, you know, mouth sewn shut. It's just like, okay. When Debbie's family bought the house, did they not look in the basement? Was it a hidden room? I must have missed that. One thing that was kind of cool, there's a couple things I can say that are kind of okay about this. They have flashlights. They look at their one friend and they're like, oh my god, the shadow, because that's what the acting is like. There's him, his shadow, and then another shadow. The shadow of a woman. We see the shadow's head turn, reach for him, and then he's on the ground. So it's like, okay, that was kind of cool. When the one girl gets killed in her bathroom by having her head hit the sink, after her mouth gets sewn shut, we see her eyes, you know, smoke up all white. CGI, but it looks fine. You know, that small effect, whatever. Yes, Evil Dead 2 did it much better practically. And so she cuts the strings. The girl sits up, looks all undead, mouth huge, you know, Blumhouse ghost girl. Screams like a banshee. and the mother character just turns into black smoke and goes away. Okay. Well then, kid from Bye Bye Man goes home, sees Debbie there with her mouth her mouth is now not sewn shut. She screams like a banshee, and Bye Bye Man guy, his eyes go white, his mouth gets sewn shut. I thought this was where it was gonna end. Sequel bait it, so I won't have to see the sequel. But no, it goes on for like another half hour. It feels like. She goes back to Lin Shaye, who says, figure out she was lying. No, this evil's been around forever. Anyone that fucks with it has to pretty much sacrifice someone to put, they're going to be haunted, and you pretty much need a sacrifice to put the previous person at peace. So that's what Lin Shaye did. Once she learned of this girl's ordeal, she told them a bullshit way to make it stop, but it just opened them up to free her soul, but lose one of theirs. So then she goes and talks to her mother. The main girl and her sister talks to her mother, which this scene is stupid because her mother finds the Ouija board like in her room. Earlier in the film it says, this is evil, you should be tampering with it. And now she's telling her exactly how to solve it. Because the main girl says, oh no, we just did it once, which was a lie. Weird shit was already happening. So she tells them how to stop it the right way. It is just, you could have saved, I understand the movie has to happen, yes. But that seems like seems lazy, just seems like, oh, won't they notice that, could they just put this together? Like, they had this conversation about the Ouija board before, didn't go anywhere, but oh, now let's go to mom and ask for help. Just the same kind of writing in Bye Bye Man, where it's just like, okay, it's PG-13, either they're not going to notice, they don't care, or who gives a shit. That's what I think the writers and producers were like. Either they think their audience being PG-13 is too stupid, not going to notice, or their scares are so awesome, they're going to be so jazzed by the jump scares that they're not going to notice. It's the same kind of writing that made Bye Bye Man unbearable. So again, the mother says you have to separate your connection. You have to destroy the body and the board. So they go back to the house. They take the girl's body and the Ouija board. They throw it in the furnace. She does her undead CGI big mouth scream. Seems to go away. And then we see the main girl, she's flossing her teeth the same way the girl that died before did. Then she goes into her bedroom, and the planchette is now in her room, which she looks through. Camera goes in, makes like a loud noise, and movie's over. Oh God, this movie was just, and I remember when this came out, there was posts on Facebook, and I heard people talking about, I'm not gonna say what kind of people, you can probably guess, like that Ouija looks, oh my God, can't even, so scary, like I can't even. It's just, I mean, to each their own, people are scared by different things, but PG-13 is bad enough. You get a film like Insidious, which is really good. It's PG-13. It's Blumhouse. It's supernatural. 3 things I don't like, and it pulled it off, so it can be done. This just went total Bye Bye Man, PG-13 supernatural direction. Nothing remotely cool. The only thing that really made me feel like I was watching a movie about a haunted Ouija board was when you did have the up close jump cuts of the planchette. Like, that was it. And the one cool shot was when they're sitting at the table, camera pans back to the chair, so it looks like the spirit was sitting there. And okay, you can see spirits when you look through the planchette. A little bit like Coraline, but it pertained to Ouija. Those aspects worked. But, I mean, the acting. There was nothing to these characters. All one-dimensional, high school, well, like, holding their backpacks, like, what do we do now? Like, this is, what do we do? Just overly dramatic. I can't even say overly dramatic, just, it's like they were told, okay, act like you're in a horror movie. And that's what they did, and it didn't work. This is, without a doubt, in my top 5 worst Blumhouse films. And I mean, not even taking like Asylum or After Dark or like Sharknado type movies or sci-fi film movies. I always put those aside because those aren't meant to be taken seriously anyway. Actual theatrical releases, technically this might be better than Bye Bye Man, but not by much. Real, it is definitely the same class of just doesn't give a shit. It's like they took a concept and they just threw it together. It's like, okay, now make it PG-13 so that, you know, this seems scary to whoever watches it. To our target audience. Like, this is the epitome. Next to, like, found footage, supernatural films like Paranormal Activity, this is the epitome of the kind of horror that I hate. This, Bye Bye Man, it really is that class. That's why I keep saying those two together. Other just PG-13 supernatural films. I'm sure I saw Slender Man once when it first came out. Don't remember shit from it. That's back when I was drinking a lot. Those kinds of PG-13 films where it's just like the writing, the acting, the effects, the whole the concept is bigger than the film itself, and it falls flat. I did all I could to sit through this fucking movie. I watched it on Daily Motion. Thank God I didn't have to buy it. Origins of Evil, I'll check out just because Mike Flanagan did it. And I really like his work, but this film sucked so much ass. I hated it. Yeah. Fuck Ouija.